clever. Jordan.
No, I have no close relatives, very few close friends.
There was an egg somewhere, and you hatched out of it.
I was born into this earth. Who knows from where, and who knows what will come from me, but here I am.
Yeah, I mean, first, as for so many people, I was introduced to your work on Comedy Central as a sort of correspondent running around the country, exploring the depths of irrationality that has befallen us all. And I keep thinking to myself, if he weren't doing this, who would? And no one, right? So I just want to thank you for all that you have done to expose the underbelly of the country.
I feel like I'm like James Cameron diving into the abyss. It's not underwater, it's just into the heartland of America.
No, heartland of America. So we've got you for a Cosmic Queries, and this is a grab bag edition. So, we don't like to admit it, but every now and then there's just like the leftovers from all the leftovers because they didn't fit a category, they didn't fit a theme, and so here they are. It's like the trash bin of questions. Doesn't mean we don't love the questions. It just meant they didn't find a place before today.
To be clear, for all of those folks who are out there, you're not second tier. You're just such unique thinkers who can't be categorized other than the category of trash bin. But still, we're that like a badge of honor, a trashy badge of honor.
All right, so you have all the questions, and I haven't seen them yet. Not that you're trying to stump me, but if I don't know the answer, I'll just say I don't know, and we move on. And I love knowing where the people came from, if it happens to be in their signature. And these are all from our Patreon supporters. So Patreons, we changed the rules so they're the only ones who actually get to ask questions for Cosmic Queries. So those are the rules. And
to be clear, I know it's not the goal, but I do hope they stump you, just because you're cocky, nailing your cocky, and it's important to knock you down a peg. For me, it makes me feel better about myself, so I'm really rooting against you on this one.
Just before you begin, there was because people like trying to, stump you. They won't even try to not stump you if they could. They'll put in extra energy to stump. So I once tweeted that a plane whose engine fails is a glider. A helicopter whose engine fails is a brick. Okay. So I thought it's pretty clear what I'm talking about there. But no, okay? So apparently helicopter experts jumped in and said, no, the engine can fail, but the propellers will still turn. Okay? And then you have something called auto rotation where you can kind of guide your fall from the sky. Like the little the seeds that can that fall off the tree that have little propeller blades.
Yeah.
They don't just fall straight to the ground. They have a controlled descent. And so no one volunteered to say, maybe Neil meant there's no upward lift at all. Okay? An engine failure along with the propeller failure, right? No one volunteered that possibility as to what I might have been intending. And so they all just said, we're going to prove Neil wrong. He's wrong. He's so wrong. Okay. That was the first one you had.
Sandra Pagliani has a question. She says, first of all, woohoo, what a thrill to be on Patreon. Thank you, Sandra. She says, I've been diving into multiple books on the multiverse, and I'm still struggling with the string theory concept. Could you please explain it in a simple way, or write a string theory book for dummies so I finally get it? Thank you.
Well, so a great book on this, which was a big bestseller, was from my friend and colleague Brian Greene. He wrote a book called The Elegant Universe. And there's a lot of other stuff in there, but he's a string theorist, and so string theory deeply infuses his writings, because that's the side of the fence he's on as he comes to the topic. So what I can do is tell you that we have quantum physics, all right? That's the theory of the small. So that gives us an understanding of molecules and atoms and particles. And then we have Einstein's general theory of relativity, which explains the entire universe, what gravity is doing to shape the universe. And out of that we get the Big Bang and black holes and all manner of other things. But it turns out, if you take Einstein's general theory of relativity and apply it all the way down to the center of a black hole, where it was what we call a singularity, it blows up. I mean, not literally, it mathematically blows up. Do you remember when you took math in like high school? You weren't allowed to divide by 0, right? You know, okay, it's kind of like that.
The man was holding me down. That's how I always saw it.
That's how you felt about
That's
it.
how I felt.
You wanted to do it, that just somebody was in your way.
You don't tell me what to do, Mr. Forrester.
So we know general theory of relativity has limits, right? It applies in all these large-scale places, but when you get down to these tiny areas, it doesn't. Now, so here's the problem. At the Big Bang, because general relativity takes us like from the Big Bang onward, but right at the point of the Big Bang when the universe was really small, wait a minute, if the universe was once small, then maybe quantum physics applies to the entire universe in those few moments. So you have a shotgun marriage of these two highly successful theories of the universe, but we don't know how to do that. String theorists have come in and said, we have an umbrella that will enclose them both and put them under one coherent understanding of how the universe works, and we get the singularities out of it, we get quantum physics, and we get general relativity. So that's my sort of overview of what string theorists are trying to accomplish here. But they haven't really yet, and there's been a lot of them over decades, and I've gone up to them and I say, how come you're not there yet? I've been waiting around. We've been at this place since the early 80s. And there's like dozens of them, right? Maybe even scores of them. I said, how come you haven't done it? He said, well, it's hard. So then I said to Brian Greene, to his face, I said, could it be that you are all just too stupid? Why is it that it's hard and you're not smart enough, right? It's not that you're not smart enough. What's going on there? Of course, no cosmologist, theorist, physicist is going to say, I'm stupid. They'll say the problem is hard. I take a different sort of view. I think maybe there's yet another place to explore for this umbrella, and maybe it's not string theory. I don't know. But that's where we are now. The two are still not married.
Well, I mean, marriage equality, even in the process, American political system says it's not that it can't happen, it happens slower than we want it to.
Yes, but that's what it is. It's happening slower than we really want.
This is from God's Demonstration. And this one's National Geographic. There's an article about an investigation of small solar objects. In it, there's a little discussion about the formation of the solar system. The theory is that Jupiter formed closer to the sun, and when it moved outward, it affected the orbits of outer, icier objects, and those further ones toward Earth. This bombardment is where we got water from. Why couldn't it have been the opposite? Jupiter formed out there where there is more ice, then it catapulted inward to a point where the ice becomes different.
Oh, very nice question. I love it when people read and think, and this is good.
That's a thoughtful audience. I have their magazine subscribers.
And that means they read.
They read. Print is not dead, it's alive, it's coming to this man's house. I bet this guy, I gotta believe, Scott, I believe, has that beautiful wall of yellow National Geographics behind
Oh, yeah, everybody does.
I love that wall.
Yellow rectangle.
I love the wall.
So, okay. So here's what happened. We had our own solar system. Before 1995, we were the only known solar system. And so we presumed that we'd be representative of other solar systems. Because what, you got to start somewhere. Let's assume that. We start discovering other planets beginning in 1995. And the method favored the discovery of big planets, even if there were little ones there waiting to be seen. And what we found were that there were Jupiter-sized planets orbiting really close to their host star. And we said, who ordered that? Jupiter's belong out, way out where our Jupiter is. How did that happen? And we kept looking, and there they were. And they kept showing up, and they kept showing up. And so we had to ask, what's going on? What is normal? I guess is how you put this. What is normal? And we went back to the formation drawing board, and we noticed that in a solar system, you could start out with many times more planets than you actually end up with. Because some planets' orbits are unstable. And what we mean by that is, if you come too close to a planet, it can slingshot you out. You can exit the star system. But by doing so, has consequences in the solar system itself. So for every planet that gets flung out, the remaining planets readjust in their position. And it's a whole migrational thing going on in the solar system. It's called planet migration. And planets can move in, planets can move out. It depends on the circumstances of what's going on here. So if you have a Jupiter that's far out, we can imagine that the exchanges of energies and the capturing of other objects can force that kind of readjustment to give you the spread of what we actually see in our catalogs of star systems. So that's what's going on there. And in fact, I get to do this because this is Star Talk. The Star Talk book, and my boy reads, right?
You read?
Reader in the house.
Yeah.
Our recent book, Star Talk Cosmic Queries, there's a whole section on the formation of star systems and this migratory process. So I invite you to check out that book. It's a fun book, and it's published by National Geographic.
What?
Mic drop.
Look at this. This is why. Scott, you come well read. You're gonna get a well read response. That's what you're gonna get. All woven together.
It's all tight.
Yep.
Tight answer.
Tight, and it's got a sponsorship attached to it. I mean, this is how you make podcasts right here.
And it's a beautiful book. And it was one of our engineers and editors and producers, Lindsay Walker, was a major contributor to that, just making it start talkifying the content to make sure that any Star Talk fan feels like they're at home in that book. And so we got this.
I admit, I'm embarrassed. I've never heard of planetary migration before.
Yeah, well, so you need a life.
I'm
get out more, Jordan.
I was going to go without any family or friends, just this egg who was birthed into the world. I'm still grasping at straws.
Yeah.
Paul Love, he's got a question for us. He says, when we say that the universe is expanding, are we really talking about just the matter of the universe, or are we talking about space-time itself? For example, during the rapid expansion of the Big Bang, was it just all the matter in the universe expanding into pre-existing space?
Okay, I can answer that, but only after we take a commercial break.
Well done. Good payment.
You see what I did there?
It's classic.
I'm getting better and better at that.
This is really good. Make them wait.
When we come back, we're going to find out what the hell is the universe expanding into, and what does it mean even for it to be expanding on Star Talk Cosmic Queries.
Hi, I'm Chris Dillon from Colwood, New Jersey, and I support Star Talk on Facebook. Please enjoy this episode of Star Talk Radio with more of my favorite personal astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
We're back. Cosmic Queries. Star Talk. Got with me is my co-host, Jordan Klepper. Jordan, love you, man.
Right back into Neil.
Love all your work. And you still got the gig with Comedy Central, right? And
I'm still contributing to the good old Daily Show right now, so I launch out into the world every few weeks and see what the world's talking about.
And do you pitch stories to them, or do they request of you?
I do. It's a little bit of both. We basically, I have a small team that I tend to go out to some of these rallies or events with, and we kind of watch the news. And when a rally shows up, protesters, there's a couple of events coming up. We sort of look at where the conversation's going, and if there's events, we try to get there and talk.
And the more irrational the conversation, the more likely you will be there.
It is. Exactly. If you're like, man, I bet some people have some irrational points of view and are pretty angry about it, there's a good chance I'm staying at a hotel room.
All right, so keep them coming. We got questions from our Patreon members.
Yeah, so this is Paul Love's question. He wants to know, when we say that the universe is expanding, are we talking about just the matter in the universe, or are we talking about space-time?
Yeah, so this is what we learned from general theory of relativity, Einstein, that space, which we think of as this empty thing, and of course things can move through space. Earth is moving in orbit around the sun through space. The sun is orbiting the center of the galaxy, is moving through space. And there's some galactic motion where they're moving through space. However, underneath all of that is the fabric of the space-time continuum. That is what's expanding when we speak of the expanding universe. And so, no, the expanding universe, and we see galaxies hurtling away from each other, they are being carried along in the fabric of the space-time continuum. And by the way, that means in the early universe, there's no rule against that fabric stretching, really, faster than the speed of light itself. The speed of light, speed limit, is a restriction on how fast you can move through space, not how fast space itself can expand. So the entire early universe, it is booking. It is way faster than the speed of light. Not a problem. Not a problem there.
When I'm visualizing this, using even the term fabric, should I be thinking of it in that sense, of something
Yes.
that is literally being told?
Yeah, I think another way to fabric is a little more poetic rather than just rubber sheet.
Rubber sheet makes me think of 6th grade and the difficulties I had at night after I had a big polo before going to bed.
Oh, is that right? Oh, gotcha. Is this the first you admit this?
I think it's coming out. I want to be open with it. We have readers here. We have readers. I want to be honest with readers. Normally I'm talking to people who haven't read a book. I'm talking to people who've read books. Here's the deal. Sometimes people pee in the middle of the night. It's okay. As long as you have the fabric of the universe underneath, you're good. Which, I gotta say, that's a good branding. Branded fabric of the universe, rubber sheets.
For bedwetters, yeah, there you go. So you have a rubber sheet, and it distorts when you sort of press it, as a mass would do to it, pressing down. And if you moved along that rubber sheet, you might sort of fall in towards that depression where the mass is. And that's kind of what things do when they're moving through the pre-existing universe. The point is, if you take that rubber sheet and draw galaxies on it, and then just take it and stretch it, then all the galaxies are moving away from one another as part of the embedded rubber sheet that we're talking about. Now here's the part that's harder for our limited ape brains to process. This stretching rubber sheet with these dimples in it is happening in 3 dimensions. It's a 3-dimensional stretching rubber sheet with galaxies embedded in it. And since time is a factor here, there's a 4th dimension in it as well. So that's why, by the way, so let's take a balloon. They didn't ask this, but it rounds it out. Take a balloon and draw galaxies on it, and then you inflate the balloon. Okay? So the balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the galaxies are getting farther and farther apart from each other. Then you say, point to where the universe began. No place you point on the surface of the balloon gets you to the beginning. Because the beginning is back through time. You gotta go through the fabric, go back through time to when all the balloons is in the same place at the same time. So basically, everywhere is the beginning of the universe. 14 billion years ago. Well, here's my...
The rubber band sheet, getting somewhere. My brain is really starting to make sense of it. The balloon, I like that metaphor. And now moving through space and time, I'm seeing an exploding balloon. And
when I came up in the ranks, educators were attempting to go 1 dimension higher than the rubber sheet. And they talk about raisins in a raisin cake.
Raisins in a raisin cake. Oh, as that it can. Okay.
So as the cake expands, when you bake it, the distance between the raisins are increasing. The problem there is the raisin cake has an edge to it. Okay? And whereas the surface of the balloon has no edge.
I mean, also one of the other problems is raisin cakes are falling out of favor. You're not gonna find yourself a raisin cake. Like in telling you to connect to a pronoun, you're gonna
nobody makes raisin cakes anymore. It's just not a thing.
It's because you have to understand the 4th dimension and what time means to a raisin cake. And people are like, kids these days are too dumb to eat raisin cakes. This is from Tyler.
That's why it fell out of favor.
That's what it is. Kids aren't smart enough to eat them. This is from Tyler Pitts. Hey, new patron here. Join the Jones family. Next question is about dark matter. We have no clue what it is, but what are your speculations on what it could be? And what is the possibility of us interacting with it anytime soon? Could it be that dark matter is the material / matter of the knowledge that our universe expands into outside the observable universe? Just the thing that's been on my mind. Thank you guys. All the love from Michigan. That's my home state. So a lot of love.
Is that right?
That's right.
Cool. Michigan in the house.
Michigan in the house. Kalamazoo.
What's your hometown?
Kalamazoo, Michigan, right there. Home of Derek Jeter and Jordan Tucker. So if you go there, people really know one of those names.
All right. So we're talking about
dark matter.
Dark matter.
Okay. What it really could be.
There's what I want it to be, but there's what I really think it probably is. All right. So I'll tell you what it probably is. It's probably a class of particles yet to be discovered that has a very low probability of interacting with our class of particles. Electrons, protons, neutrons, and even our light. Okay, light is one of the photons, or part of the particle family. And so we have our particle family, and there may be a whole other particle family that just simply doesn't interact. But if it has mass, it will have gravity, and we see the gravity of the dark family. That's why we're calling it dark matter. Okay, it's matter, and it's gravity. 85% of the universe's gravity comes from it. But it's coexisting with us by not interacting. And that sounds kind of weird, doesn't it?
That sounds like Thanksgiving. You're describing Thanksgiving. It's families coexisting but not interacting with one another.
There's no real connection.
There's no connection. And the chances of them connecting are pretty low. Yeah, American Thanksgiving. Got it. Okay.
We need, who's the guy who painted Thanksgiving and all those other American images?
Norman Rockwell?
Norman Rockwell. So we need an updated Thanksgiving painting.
I think it's
screaming at each other.
Yeah, I think it's a triptych of three of people as far away as they can be, and carnage in the middle.
So it's not a stretch to imagine two things not interacting, right? For example, why do you have windows in your home? The windows are transparent to visible light. Okay? Now it turns out the light does interact with the window, interacts with what it's moving through, apparently. But what I'm saying is, you have windows that are transparent to visible light. They're not transparent to infrared. And how do I know that? Because you could take a candle or a match and light it on one side of the window and bring your hand right up to the other side of the window and you will not feel the heat. Whereas you can see the match. So the visible light comes through the window, the infrared doesn't. We live in a world of non-interacting phenomena, right? And we exploit that fact, right? You have probably a smartphone on your hip or on your desk right now, and if someone's calling you, it will ring. Where did that signal come from? It came through your walls, okay? You could be in a windowless bathroom and your phone will ring because microwaves pass through all that. Not interacting until it hits your phone, then it interacts. So we have built our lives to interact with and not interact with certain forms of energy. And that's all the same family of energy. So let me keep going. There's a particle called the neutrino. Once again, it's part of our family. Neutrino hardly interact with anything. Oh my gosh. In order to detect a neutrino, you need like a